Hangout is on air. Welcome everybody to the final episode of this season, we'll say for now, of the Heroes Reborn after show review. Joining me as always is my co-host and co-moderator of the Heroes Reborn community, John. How's things going, John?
The usual, Glenn, and yourself?
Everything's going good. It's just another day, another hobby kind of week, and not else much happening. I've just been waiting all week for this finale to come on, and I must say it did not disappoint. Well, at least to me it didn't disappoint, but we'll jump into that. Let me bring up a picture here. Let's see who we got first. Let's start with the Tommy getting out of the Evernow game. So we had Emily and Ren discover what was going on, and Ren had to, or they run into Otomo and find Miko, and Otomo shoves Ren into the game, and he gets reunited with his, I guess we call it the AI version of Miko, and he's now been tasked to save the hero, the master of space and time, being Nathan/Tommy. Let's go over that now. With okay, so we got the scene here with the mother and Emily. She's brought them in there, basically said, you're going to do what we want, or essentially, going to kill the mom and Emily, or leave them behind, or whatever it may be. Did you find, I found that there was this scene here itself, I really enjoyed this scene, especially with the Tommy's got control, because in that sequence before he's released from Evernow, he kind of goes on a flashback, or he meets his dual self, and realizes that he can be in two places at one time, and he regains his memories from when he was raised by Hero. What did you think about that?
Okay, so before we can even go there, I should have reminded our viewers that Tommy did transport everybody from the gateway of now to the gateway of 4,739 years into the future, I believe. Somewhere around that figure. Anyway, nonetheless, they're in the future, and suddenly, Ren and Danny's girlfriend somehow managed to get up there using the necklace. The necklace once again proves that, Otomo had a backup plan. And it was a good backup plan, too. It kicked everybody out of the system, and then suddenly, you have what you see in the picture. Sort of a standoff. Another Mexican standoff. And in a way, it's sort of repeating the past, because it seems like whenever there's time that needs to be stopped, there is always another Mexican standoff. Here we see Emily we see Erica with a gun, and all I kept thinking was, that's not really going to do anything to a person with master in space and time. I'm like, why is she even doing this? Even if you have someone hostage, the mother and the girlfriend, I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe she's that desperate and she's not thinking on a linear pathway of what to do and what not to do. But when she ironically says, you can't be in two places at once, and he says, I had infinite time to figure all things out thanks to your little game, he switched the tables. And it was very, very, very satisfying to see that. And him just tapping people and zooming them out.
Sending them everywhere. Yeah, I love that. That was great.
Everyone except for Erica. Everyone except for Erica. And remember when I told you in the very last session, I was like, what would be really great? It would be really great if she left her behind into the world that just self-destructed. It turned out,
that's right. You did call it. You did call it. I do remember that. I
wasn't 100% correct. I had it reversed. He didn't leave her in the Earth that exploded. He left her in the future that pretty much would never happen. In a way, it kind of reminds me of Peter's Irish girlfriend that just got stuck in a time and we all forgot about her.
Good old Caitlin. Yes, I still, if they ever do, down the road, I'm like, hey, I want to know what happened to Caitlin. She's trapped in, like you said, in an universe, an alternate universe that technically never is. Well, now that he's changed time, or Peter saved the world, she's somewhere that never happened. So does that mean that she ceased to exist? Maybe she's dead too. Who knows? But yeah, I did like what happened with Erica, where he kind of gave her the old "see ya." I was just cracking up, and I'm like, yes, stick it to her.
And I was like, is Erica and Caitlin just hanging out in limbo?
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was one thing. Now, did he? That's. I thought, okay, well, did the place just implode because he's gone back to the past, and she's in the future that has not happened? Does she just implode, or does the world just dissolve around her and she dies instantly? I'm like, she's got to be either dead or she's somewhere that she'll never be seen again, and
it's like she's kind of erased along with Caitlin.
Yes. Yeah, no, that was no, I thought that was a fitting end to Erica Kravitz and her. Just going to speaking about Erica, I was surprised we did not see anything with her daughter in this episode. I don't remember seeing Taylor in there. And the last we saw her was in the last week's episode, Company Woman episode, and she was getting on the elevator and said, "I would rather die than spend eternity with you." So I was kind of like, well, we didn't really get much closure on that, but I guess there wasn't much more they could do with that storyline other than, the future's safe now. She's gonna have her Evo child down the road. Probably be a telekinetic thing that I think the guy's name was Francis, who was the father of the child. So that leaves that open for something down the road, I guess. We can revisit that character.
I'm just wondering, it's really ironic where you would show where she was willing to die. She was willing to go to a fiery death, and somehow she turns up, she would go that sort of future, she's alive. If the writers permitted her to live. I find that very, very, very ironic. And I didn't see that twist.
Yeah. No, that was oh, there's a shot of Ren and Emily there. I was surprised. I was actually able to go onto the NBC. All these pictures, everybody, they're courtesy of the NBC website. As I've mentioned in the past couple episodes, they don't let their YouTube videos, where I get all my screenshots from, are no longer being shown in Canada, only in the US, which is cool and everything. I guess they don't want us Canucks looking at their videos. But I went on their website today, and I was actually able to get some good shots here, so I'll be able to scroll through these today, which I wasn't able to the last couple of weeks. The pictures I was getting were pretty bad. Who's up next? Oh, we got Luke. Luke. What can we say about him that you haven't mentioned about 100 times about him? Getting his redemption. So he kind of, I don't know how he figured it out, but he kind of knew that he had a purpose. There was a reason why Molina saved him when he tried to drown himself, and ultimately he sacrifices himself. And I don't know if you want to say he absorbs, or I say he absorbed. He kind of went up into the sky with his ability, went up there, and basically, to me, he took the brunt of that first wave of the healing. And I know you've mentioned many times that this is what we kind of figured was going to happen with him. He was going to make, from what he's done from the beginning, being a kind of a serial killer of Evos. This is his complete 360. I've redeemed myself, essentially.
Well, 360 would mean he would go back to the same place.
Oh, sorry, 180. I meant to say, yeah.
So, like you said before, in our previous sessions, we discussed what happens to him and his family. We discussed he or she would wind up killing each other, and it'd be the shortest divorce that we've ever seen. And apparently, it was the longest divorce that we've ever seen. Except now it ended with a burning ash and him sacrificing. We also discussed would he commit suicide or would he seek redemption? As it turns out, he did both once again, sacrificing himself in suicide to save and give Molina time to hold off the solar apocalypse. I guess we could call it the solar apocalypse.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. The funny thing was, he took. I always wondered what was going through his mind when he closed the door on Quentin and Molina, and he's looking at the picture and his little locket. I'm thinking to myself, what could you be thinking? A dead child, and you killed your wife. I don't know if that's like a goodbye to them, or maybe it's his way of seeking some sort of solace, or it's just maybe remembering the good times versus the bad. I'm not too sure. But yes, you are correct. I'm going to say he came up, he absorbed as much of the solar power as he could that his evil powers can handle until it basically evaporated him and it overran him. And I guess you could say since he absorbed all that, it did nullify the effects of the very first solar push. And there we have it. And that's the end of Luke.
Yeah, I think you're right. He did essentially what he's done. Yeah, he did was he's looking at that locket. He's thinking of, hey, these are the good times. I've done this awful thing with my wife. And essentially he's looking at it going, I'm going to be reunited with them soon. And he knew what was going to happen when he went up. He knew he wasn't coming back. And one thing I'll say about the Luke character is I wish we would have, seeing him in this final episode, I wish we would have had more time to explore. I know there wasn't much more we could explore. I would like to see him would have more of evolved, becoming a hero, I guess. Like he made the ultimate sacrifice, and I found this episode was about sacrifices. There was quite a bit. But I felt that yes, he redeemed himself, but at the same point, I would have liked to see him do a little bit more prior to his ultimate sacrifice, if that makes any sense. Let's see here. We have a comment from there's Primatech Files. I believe he's watching us right now. It just faded to black. They cut to it and it just disappeared. I think that's referring to the I think he's referring to the when Tommy did the thing. He also says, here in his comment, he says, all that was missing was the yata. That's so true. When Tommy did the salute to Erica when he shot himself back, that would have been perfect to get a yata right there when he was leaving her back. And
we all know that was Hero's signature line, but I guess for Danny, the old salute is his way of giving the middle finger.
Yes. Yeah, I guess there was a good way of doing it too.
Since NBC wouldn't allow it, I'm pretty sure the salute was just his version of giving the finger and saying, "Hey, I won, you lost. Bye-bye."
I rewatched that scene this morning because it just made me chuckle, and you want to see the bad guy get it. We all want to see that happen, but that was just like a perfect, like, what you gonna do? See ya. You're stuck here. You're not coming back. And I kind of like this, going back to that scene, is when he still had her frozen and he took the sword and cut the wristwatch off. And as soon as she unfroze, what was the first thing she did? Where the heck did it go? It's already fallen. It's broken, and gives her. I just thought that was classic. That was well done.
It was well done in the way that he used Erica's technology against her.
Exactly. Yeah. No. But yeah, it was kind of, what do they call it? Like ironic, I guess.
Yeah.
Her own way of saving the universe destroyed her. So that was a fitting into her.
Maybe we should just call it karma.
I agree. We'll call it karma. I'll chalk it up to karma. And so what we got next here? We got the the Molina and Quentin and Phoebe. Now, I'll say in this particular episode, if Phoebe would have been like this the entire series, I would have really got behind her as a villain. I felt that in this episode, she didn't have much to say, but she just came across as a misguided, angry, angst type teenager, young adult, and just with Quentin being conflicted, he's my sister, but ultimately he puts her down. But I just felt that she kind of came across at her strongest in this episode compared to the first time we saw her when they were in the warehouse with Farah and Molina. I said, okay, that's cool. She's got the shadows coming out of the hands, and she's stopping abilities. But I just felt that this is probably her strongest outing in the whole series. I found last couple episodes, she was almost comical with Quentin. And Quentin being the kind of comical sidekick, I don't think it plays well with when you got somebody who's trying to be this brooding type emo villain. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Okay, so when it comes to Phoebe, I wanted, if we're going to go back to the conversation about Luke, I actually wanted to see a better fight between Luke and Phoebe. Because when you think about it, the power of light versus the power of darkness. And that would have been the iconic fight. But we really didn't get to see that. All we really did get to see was between her and Molina. And to be honest, it looked like Phoebe basically had the upper hand. And might I add, I don't know how far gone she was when she was told, we're going to come back for you, Phoebe. And, Erica just left her there. And I'm like, is this woman not seeing 20/20 vision and know that she's getting played? Quentin knows it. Phoebe is so far gone and so, wrapped up in maybe her own kind of complex that, obviously Quentin knows that she had to really be put down. There was no way around it. And in a way, maybe he felt kind of responsible.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he did feel. I think he feels he failed her, like during the Dark Matters webisodes when he couldn't find her. He was at his wit's end. He was kind of doing everything and anything. I think he thinks he failed her there. And then he tried to, and then when they did the butterfly effect in the June 13th part 2 episode, and he came back kind of as on the side of Phoebe and Erica. He just kind of realized, no matter what, either way it went, he felt she was on the wrong side. He was conflicted what to do because it was family. And ultimately, I think he feels responsible for how it all, being that he shot her, he does feel responsible. But yeah, just a lot of emotion in that scene. That was another one of the scenes that kind of got me going, oh, geez, how does one react if that's the only option you have? You got to put down somebody that, you're either going to kill the world's savior or what do you do in that situation? And ultimately, he made the right choice. Otherwise, they'd all be dead, essentially.
Quentin really didn't have a really good choice, and he was forced to make a decision, and I think he made the right decision, but I really do not envy him in being that sort of decision-making, because, killing a sibling is, not really, nobody wants to be in that position. And on top of that, part of me kind of was really hoping, like in the middle of the series, that Phoebe would have been redeemable, because, being brainwashed, there's also a counter brainwash, or, I was hoping she would have her own 180-degree turn. But as it turns out, no.
Well, yeah, because if we go back to episode Game Over, where Hero first got rescued, In that episode, Phoebe actually kills Quentin. And I thought when he came back in that, I guess when he came back in June 13th, part 2, and he was with Phoebe, I figured, okay, he's on her side now. He's going to be bad. They're good to go. But it almost seemed like she was ready to, at the end of the finale, it was almost like, okay, well, I'm going to kill Molina. Then if you get in the way, I'm going to kill you. It was almost like it was almost the same setup. He's got the gun pointed at her again. And that's what happened in that episode 6 is when she shot the darkness down his throat and killed him that way. So I think, yeah, he did the right thing. Tough choice to make, but ultimately for the better of mankind, I guess.
Agreed. I'm glad he made that.
No, it's now let's see what we got up here next. Okay, so I guess we got some Molina and Tommy stuff coming up. So when Tommy's doing his duality and he's kind of shifting between they showed where he saved HRG, which when I saw that scene, I'm like, oh crap, there's no Peter Petrelli in this episode. I was kind of holding out that we would get the Peter, but no, it didn't happen. But yeah, so he saves HRG, brings him to the he kind of takes him to that facility where Angela and the Haitian were, and where we see them for the first time, where Molina and Tommy touch hands, and that, whatever it is that we want to call it happens. And then the doctor gets in between them and kind of becomes the conduit. Now, do we automatically think right there and then, like when you were watching that, did you think that HRG was going to be the one that ended up sacrificing himself?
Well, if I remember from our very first session together, you believed yourself, Glenn, that he would sacrifice himself for the better good.
I remember that. Yeah, I figured they brought him back. He was the center of the focal point of the beginning. And I said, you know what? Claire's gone. He's kind of, yeah, he wasn't the HRG of old. He was not the bag and tagger anymore. He looked like he was out of the game, it seemed like. But he still seemed like his purpose was, I guess what I was trying to say before, he was going to make the ultimate sacrifice. I guess he ended up doing that. Yeah, I just didn't think it would be like that, though. I didn't expect that what happened last night, that they were going to do this, shoot the ability power through him. I definitely didn't see that coming. To be honest with you, I thought they were going to like move the planet or something. I don't know what I expected, but I wasn't expecting that. But I thought it was pretty cool. And if you're going to kill off a main character like him, that was a pretty cool way to do it. And they gave him the hero status. No, I thought it was a pretty good way. You're going to get rid of HRG. That's one way. That was a great way to do it, and I think it was a good send-off for that character.
I agree. And here's the thing. When I always thought that the prophecy, Angela's prophecy of these two are going to save the world, what she really meant to say was these three people are going to save the world. I find it very strange and unusual that she didn't say to Noah, oh, by the way, you're going to be the conduit. She sort of stepped to the side and looked through the wall as if pointing at him and saying to him, someone needs to be the conduit, and let him make the decision.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, she knew he was there. He knew he had to hear it. And I think it was an easy decision for him, because when he shows up there, when he just grabs Molina's hand almost instantly and looks at Tommy and says, "It's time to save the world," without a thought of anything else. It was like, let's do this. And he knew. And yeah, I don't know if it was just like, it was maybe the guilt of Claire not seeing her anymore, and he was just like, I'm going to make this ultimate sacrifice. And then essentially they'll be together again in another world.
And you know, I have to say that in a way, the whole entire sequence of, you know, a burst of energy flowing through him, through his grandchildren, into outer space, and somehow covers the world from the solar flare and a giant cocoon, and having the solar flare like pass on through. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Fifth Element, but that kind of reminds me of the ending scene too.
Oh, okay. I'd have to. I have seen that movie, but I don't remember it all that well.
Well, when Bruce Willis tells Mila Jovovich's character, "I love you," and this is the world that we have to save because of love and all the good stuff in it, the power courses through her through the four stones. I don't know if you remember, four elemental stones, and she's the conduit to send the energy up into space where the big, huge, giant planet solidifies and stops from engulfing the Earth. And to be quite honest, it felt like a little bit of a plagiarism, but I'm going to let it slide because, you know, different story, different settings, different characters, but nonetheless, it was still the same principle. I can't help think that Tim Kring saw that movie and was like, okay, I'm going to copy that.
Yes. Well, I think that's what we've been saying this season is a lot of this feels like it's something out of an X-Men comic with the registration and everything else. And I've been reading this a lot of comments. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with X-Men as outside of the movies. I collected a little bit of the comics, but not a whole lot. And I don't know all the stories, but a lot of people are saying it had an X-Men vibe to it. And I said, that's cool. I like X-Men, but I don't know how close it was to the content X-Men Heroes Reborn, but the registry part I know of for sure. I guess it's kind of hard to do these days to come up with a quite original without tapping into possibly into some. But I'm gonna have to watch Fifth Element now just to see the ending.
Watch that ending scene and tell me that it doesn't remind you of the ending of the series finale.
Yeah.
No, when I saw that, I automatically remembered that movie. I was like, I've seen this before. I know I have. And then it clicked on me with Bruce Willis and Mila Jovovich.
Yeah. Yeah, I can say the ending scene here where they where Noah died. I think that was the first time I can tell you the 3 times I felt emotion in the entire Heroes series. One was season 1, episode 23, How to Stop an Exploding Man, where Peter and Nathan have their little spiel before he carries them off. That packed a lot of emotion for me. Season 3, I Am Become Death, when Sylar in the future has a child and he ends up exploding when the kid dies. But yeah, this one last night, the finale, really, I felt out of all 13 episodes this season, that one really packed that punch because you followed HRG through this whole thing, and then ultimately he dies. So I don't know, and I thought, like I said, it was a good send off. If they ever decide to bring it back, will they bring him back? Who knows?
Well,
there's always time travel. There's always somebody that can bring people back. So,
here's the thing. At the very end of the episode, I was very curious about those tarot cards. And then, Molina brings the tarot card to Angela, and she says, your father's coming back, and there's no one going to be protecting you too. And it felt like to me that Kring wanted to set it up that HRG is coming back, but now he's going to be the villain again. In what way? I'm not even too sure. If Tim Kring is actually going to come up with an idea. Now, we really don't know. And once again, I went to Twitter, and everyone was like, not another cliffhanger! Not another cliffhanger!
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. I can't believe you did this to us. It was a great series finale, but no, not another cliffhanger. Once again, Tim Kring and all his apparent sort of storytelling omnipotent prowess, he managed to once again pull the blanket over us again, and wanting us to want more than even the season 5. After season 5, when Claire jumps off the Ferris wheel and suddenly, we have this.
Yeah.
Now, if we're gonna go to the giant review of the series, I have to say this. I've posted 2 articles in the community in which they gave scathing reviews, very scathing. In fact, you commented on it, Glenn. And
yes.
I have to admit, coming from, I tried to have an objective point of view, and I see their points. A lot of their points are very valid, but I was still entertained, even with their valid points. You can have criticism, but if you feel satisfied with the whole entire series as a whole, not as a part, but as a whole, I think that Tim Kring did a good job. It's just that those valid points are still there.
No, I agree. There was, of course, we're big fans of the series and original and this one, and I do see there were issues, whether it being for me it was visual effects. I found some of them were very choppy. Some of the acting was not so great sometimes. Sometimes the fight scenes were edited kind of weird, where people were holding a pose too long. The one thing that I found people complained about or had issue with a lot was they couldn't follow the story. And I don't know if it's just me. It could be just me. I had no trouble understanding what was going on because I've watched it from the beginning. I understood what I was getting into when I started watching. I know for some people that have never seen the series before, this was their first, their starting point for them. I can see where it could be a little bit, okay, I don't really get what's going on here. But like I said, you go to the fan page on Facebook, and there was people. I've watched all the series, and this was confusing. I'm like, whoa, what? I go, you gotta let it go and just go, okay. If something doesn't go to A, B, C, and it goes A to C, don't worry. Tim Kring's going to come back, and the B will be there in the middle. It just hasn't been revealed how to get to the B. I didn't find it confusing at all. I found it easy to follow. People were like, well, how could Angela, like one of the things I was talking to somebody this morning, like, well, how is Angela old when Molina was 15, but at the end of the episode, she's regular Angela again? And I'm just like, you've got to just suspend the time-space continuum idea and think that things can change. Well, it's not, Angela in the past was, because even when Angela and Hero arrived in 15 years back into the future, or we go 15 years back into the past, Angela said one thing: I don't want to run into future me because we're in the same, and she told Hero the same thing. We don't want to run into our same time selves right now because it'll just cause a problem. So essentially, there's 2 Angelas out there, and the one we saw at the end was the one that didn't go back into the past. So that kind of stuff, some people were having trouble following. I just didn't have any problems following it. And there was a gentleman on YouTube, I can't remember his name, he's got a big channel, and I was trying to get in a conversation with him because he's got a huge following, but he kind of crapped on the first 2 episodes because he said it was so hard to follow. And I said, the first 2 episodes were the easiest to follow. And claiming that this person was a Heroes fan before really kind of confused the hell out of me if you didn't understand what was happening, especially if you were, you knew everything about the original series, and then this one really confused you as what was going on. I don't know what you thought about that.
Well, okay. So I see the point where if you're a newbie, and you come into the series and you really don't know what's going on. You don't know the little nuances and the little tidbits of description that might flow right past you, but a hardcore fan like me and Glenn would totally understand and we totally get. And even though we don't memorize everything, we know those little things and those little details that Tim Kring always spreads like crumbs, and like 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 a bloodhound, we have to follow the clues. We have to follow the little details and the little nuances to see the bigger picture. Because Tim Kring never reveals his cards in a poker game all at once. He shows one card, we have to show one. He shows his two, he's really holding a three. You know, you have to always remember, one, when it comes to Tim Kring's narration, you have to really give him a license of disbelief, a suspension of disbelief. On top of that, you also have to remember that his style of narration isn't like other shows. He uses comic book form, volume 1, chapter 1, and it goes in a series. And it's not really all explained to us. Sometimes, if I remember correctly, sometimes in a couple of seasons, they might revert something back to season 1 but it's really season 4. You know, I mean, it's kind of like the way you explaining linear time. It never follows in a straight line. You always have to jump from one point to another. A, B, and C usually don't go to that, and it's A to C. And on top of that, we also have to remember that since this is a mini-series and there's always going to be a beginning and an end and an open cast call to see if something is in the future. Now, when I review, when I think about the whole entire series, I always had one big giant flaw when it came to Tim Kring. And I really hate that once again, he did it. I'm sorry to say that as a huge fan and as a hardcore fan like Glenn, I said so in the very first session with you that the whole entire series seems to be revolving, seems to be revolving around the Petrelli family. I've made it countless amount of times saying that why do we have to call the show Heroes? Why don't we just call it the Petrelli family and everyone else? It'll probably solve just about a whole lot of, jumping around and concentration. Tim Kring has this, obsession with the Petrelli family, whether it has been Peter or Nathan or Angela or all these other characters within the family, and everyone else is just supporting that family. And once again, with the Heroes Reborn, it seems to be the Petrelli family all over again, except in an extended family form of the grandchildren. And to be honest, I didn't know it, but first half of the series, it was all about Noah. Second half of the series, it was about Danny and Molina. And that's about all I can say. And it was very disappointing that Tim Kring made them the focal points of the whole entire show, and everyone else was just fodder. I don't know what you think about that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what do you think about that, Glenn?
Well, I agree. There was a lot of focus on, like you said, the beginning was all about Noah trying to figure out what was going on. And I kind of felt like we had the first few episodes, we had all these characters, and it felt like a bunch of them fell to the back, like Carlos, his nephew,
Hero, Matt Parkman.
Everybody kind of became a smaller part. Like, I understand Tommy and Molina were essentially the ones that were going to save the world. But at the same point, I remember in Hero season 1, Peter and Siler, I guess you could say, were the ones that were going to have the big battle at the end. But we still had big players. We had Hero, we had Claire, we had HRG, we had Mohinder, we had Matt, we had a whole ensemble that came together. And even though Peter was like the one of the, you know, it was like the big name of the show, or he was supposed to be the hero of the show, the big hero. It took a whole group to make him that, essentially. And I felt, yeah, this second half, like you said, it kind of faltered that it became Tommy Molina focal point. Yeah, and HRG kind of fell to the background. And I kind of enjoyed him being in the front because he was the center to everybody. He was interconnected with everybody one way or another, whether it be family or from the original series or whatever it was. And then we didn't have him for 2 episodes, which was kind of disappointing as well. But I guess there was a purpose to it. But no, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I remember you saying that before. There was a lot of focus on the Petrellis, and I understand it in the first season because that was, well, it was. I guess that's where it all started. But then, there was a lot of Petrelli references and everything in this series. We just they just didn't bring damn Peter back, buggers. I'm still stinging about that. Yeah, no, I agree that a lot of the supporting cast fell into the foreground once we got just before the winter break, and definitely after the winter break. Even Micah wasn't a big role in this second half of the series. It's just like
I thought Micah was going to play a bigger part. I really, really did. And he played a small part, a smidgen small part. He didn't even have that many scenes.
No, I was very disappointed in that. And, I figured because he was in the web series in the last episode, I said, okay, he's got a small part in the web series. He's got to have a huge part in the show. And, yeah, I think you can add up to about 4 minutes total of Micah airtime. And usually he's standing in the background not doing anything. I'm like, why wouldn't we utilize him? And I didn't understand it. But the ending, the very end, as you mentioned, the tarot cards and Angela referring to the father coming back. When I was watching that last night, the first thing that came to my mind when I saw Tommy and Emily in the ice cream parlor. I don't know if you got this thing, but I felt this when I was watching it. When we saw Tommy, he was looking at the glass. He turns and looks, and he sees somebody leaving the restaurant, and all he saw was the cup. And when he saw the person leaving the restaurant, the first thing it reminded me of was season 1, Siler in the burnt toaster diner with Charlie. It kind of gave me that vibe. The villain has been in and out of the scene now, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. I had that feeling. I'm like, that felt like, okay, they're leading up to something. And listen, I don't want to say anything about the father of Claire's kids, because if anybody hasn't read the book yet, I don't want to spoil anything. But it would be interesting if they followed that storyline, if they went after it. But like you said, what a huge. Yeah, we're gonna close off the volume. But by the way, your dad's coming back to get you and your brother, and nobody can protect you. That's a pretty big cliffhanger. Not as big as jumping off a Ferris wheel and revealing yourself to the world, but that was a pretty big cliffhanger. And we have Carlos and Farah. They're kind of and his nephew. They're going to be fighting crime now, and Ren and Miko seem to be happy. Whatever, they were kendo fighting, I believe, at the end there. Right. The martial arts they were doing. They look happy. So we got the happily ever after for those two. And then Tommy looks like he's happy with Emily until he finds that tarot card. And then Molina, of course, finds hers. And it's kind of, what the hell are you doing to us? Like you just said, what the hell are you doing? This is supposed to be a limited event series. And you just went, oh, yeah, by the way, it's open-ended. That's why I think a lot of people were upset with the finale was, well, they kept saying it's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it did, but it had an end that was open-ended, and that just gives fans like us hope. And then we've been reading all these things that they're not going to bring it back. It hasn't been canceled because, as NBC said, it was a limited event series. You can't cancel something that completely aired all it was supposed to do. But I think you and I were, and I read those articles. That gentleman from the Variety article, I don't like his writing, and he's always been negative about superhero stuff. So I kind of responded to him that I said, "True fans ignore reviewers like you." So, the guy, that guy is the ultimate writer troll. Like he despises superhero stuff, but writes about it all the time. Like that'd be like me working in a restaurant, and I didn't like working in a particular restaurant, and I decide I'm going to go work, or I hate McDonald's and I'm going to go work in McDonald's. It makes no sense. But anyhow, that's why I was irritated with that guy with his article. The other one I read, yeah, you're right. They made points. They made good points, and I think a lot of fans like us, we noticed it, but we kind of overlooked it.
What? It wasn't so much that we overlooked it; it was that we rolled with the punches.
Yes.
We know that there's going to be stuff that we don't understand, and we accept that. When it comes to us and our fandom, I mean, there's always going to be gripes. There's always going to be criticisms. There's always going to be little things that kind of annoy you. But overall, if you feel like that you were satisfied with the whole entire series, then they did their job. And they did their job magnificently well. And to that attrition, what was the viewership, Glenn? What was the viewership for the series finale?
Well, I won't have. Well, it was about 4 million that tuned in live. But that was something I wanted to report too. I read something different on the NBC. That article. There was one I posted to the community. It was about Tim Kring talking about the series. And in that article with Tim Kring, at the very bottom, I think the guy's name is Goldblatt, and he's an NBC executive. And he said, what was his words? Oh, he said, I want to thank the 6.5 to 7 million viewers that tuned in every week. And I'm like, where the heck is he getting 6.5, 7 million? Because where I get the ratings from, TV by the ratings, they get theirs from the Nielsen group, which I think is just terrible. But he said, no, what we take into consideration is same day, next day, and 7 day after viewership. So within a week, 7 million people have been watching the show. So the number is actually higher than what. See, when they do these ratings, they're doing the same day ratings, and they're like, oh, well, they're not as good as they should be. But over time, so they were almost averaging 7 million viewers a week, because it looks like they did. NBC took into consideration the NBC app, which is wonderful. I'm glad they took that into consideration, because people who don't have cable have to watch the episodes online. And this NBC app, the Heroes app, which was available in the US, I believe, you were able to stream the episode, I think, either same night or next day. So, people were doing that. People were watching it on the NBC website, which they're taking into account. And they're taking into account that people record the show and they don't watch it the same day. So I thought that kind of gave me hope for the future, especially with Tim Kring saying in that article, well, no, we weren't canceled. He goes, it was meant to be 13 episodes. That was it. It ended the way we wanted. It wasn't like they said, well, we're not bringing you back, so you have to end it a certain way. He said, no, that was the ending we had in store. That was the story we wanted to tell. And when I have more stories to tell, we'll revisit the Heroes universe. But he goes, for Reborn, that story has been told. I'm like, well, it hasn't really been told, because you left it open for Molina and Tommy and Molina. So maybe they'll come back for a different storyline. Maybe we'll get some other, people we didn't see this season were Ali Larder, Milo Ventimiglia, Zachary Quinto and Hayden Panettiere, but she's supposedly dead. But like you said, time travel, you can do whatever the hell you want, essentially. But I wanted to point out, we don't know what happened to Taylor, but the other person we don't know what happened to him was Matt Parkman, because his watch busted and the other two floated down the river. Do we think he's still sitting in a car down by the river?
Did anybody help him?
Yeah. What happened to Matt Parkman?
Was he able to get AAA? I don't know.
I was like, the guy's down by the river. The first thing that came to my mind was a Chris Farley character from Saturday Night Live. I live in a van down by the river. Poor Matt Parkman stuck in a car. Nobody around. And he's stuck in a car and yelling for help and all busted up. And no, I thought that was kind of a bad ending for Parkman. I go, again, karma's bit him in the arse, but I wonder what happened to him. If they revisit the show, maybe he'll explain what happened to him. Maybe he had a.
If he gets to live, we don't even know if he gets to live.
Well, that's exactly it. Maybe he could have died because he was pretty beaten up in that car and he couldn't move and looked like he was bleeding all over the place. You can only bleed so long before you're going to die or you're going to bleed out. So.
Yeah. Plus, you don't know his injuries. He could have blunt force trauma. He could have a concussion. He could be bleeding internally. Broken something.
Yeah.
A lot of things that could lead up to death for him, and his powers would be useless, completely useless, because there's no one around.
Yeah, exactly. If there's nobody around, what are you going to do? Yeah. No, I kind of went, what the hell? I go, and the two things that bothered me was like, yeah, what happened with Taylor? I guess we really didn't need to know. I was still kind of curious, but until like, where the hell's Matt Parkman? Did he go back and forth? No, I go, no, his watch was broken, so there was no way for him to teleport out of there. So
what happened to Micah? What did he do?
Yeah, we didn't get a Micah close at the end either. That's right. He wasn't there helping Carlos build his new super suit or anything. It's just like, oh, he's disappeared. Last thing we saw him do was turning on the power in the hospital. I'm like, okay, what the hell?
What about the Haitian with the missing ear?
Oh yeah, jeez. Yeah, I was kind of happy we got to see him again. I'm like, I don't know, something about his character, Jimmy Jean Louise. The guy is awesome. I follow him on Twitter, and he's always doing something. He's always involved in something. But I really enjoy the Haitian character, and I found that in this series, I was just glad we got to see him again because we didn't really get to see him in season 4 of Heroes. I think he had a couple little scenes, I believe, but it wasn't. After season 3, he kind of didn't get didn't get a lot of screen time. But I was happy to see him come back. So,
which goes back to my main point. It feels like the original series, as well as Heroes Reborn, might as well be called The Petrellis and Everybody Else. And if
maybe I'll make a spin-off.
if I could make just one teensy weensy wish for Tim Kring, for the love of God, man, let the Petrellis go. Stop making them the focal point. Let another family take over. Seriously. There's only so much of this family you basically burn to the ground.
Well, they pretty much, what, Nathan's dead, Arthur's dead, Claire's now gone. So you essentially got Peter and Angela, but now we've got the 2 grandchildren that are Petrellis. So.
I'm just like, are they going to have children too? And the whole entire, if there's going to be a new series, is it going to be Danny's family and Molina's family? I'm sorry, it's just Kring. You're grinding this to ashes. You are beating that dead horse. Please stop. As a fan, hardcore fan, please stop. You know what? Here's a suggestion. How about we make the whole entire next series about Jose and Farah and their family? Or better yet, how about Ren and Miko's family? Or hell, bring back the Nakamuras and have it centered on their family. Just anybody else besides the Petrellis. Please. You are stuck on them like glue, and I just want to see somebody else take the reins for once.
Oh. Don't read the book. Don't read book 5. There's a lot of Petrelli talk. That's all I'll say. I'm actually rereading it. I found it online, but I'm like, oh, and then I couldn't find it again, so I bought the book this morning, and so I'm about halfway through it again. So, but there's Petrelli talk in there.
I mean, for Crane's great aspirations for storytelling and character creation, he is stuck. It's like he has one-dimensional view after a while, and you could see it as hardcore fans. You could see his one-dimensional point of view all the time, because which characters usually get the most screen time? The Petrellis.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. That after season 1, yeah, definitely they got the most screen time, and more so in season 3 because well, after season 1, Angela and she got bumped up to a full-time character, but in season 3, then we added Arthur into the story, and Nathan just wouldn't die. I finally got it right in season 4 when they said goodbye to that character. I like the character, but damn, you're gonna kill somebody, kill him off, stop this. I'm gonna put blood into you, and you're gonna be revived. They did that with HRG too when he got shot in the eye in season 2. Which I was kind of like, okay, I'll let him slide, but he doesn't get 5 lives. You better not give him 5 lives. He doesn't even have powers, and that doesn't make sense. But no, with these characters in this series, it looks like they got killed off. They're gone, which I'm fine with that. I hate to see them go, some of them go, but hey, we got Harris Prime. He's gone. Phoebe, she's dead. Molly Walker, she's gone. Even with the timeline change with the butterfly, she seems like she's still dead. Casper's gone. It just goes on and on. HRG being the big one to go. Mohinder, we don't know. I would assume Mohinder's dead. He got buried in the rubble of that blast, but who knows? Who knows?
I don't know if anybody noticed, but at the very end of the series, there's usually Mohinder giving some sort of narration. No narration of Mohinder.
No, you're right. I didn't notice that. I did not notice that. Yeah, you're right. There's no, we're here for a reason. What is our quest? Kind of spiel at the end. You're right. I didn't notice that.
He wraps things up for some reason. Mohinder's always there to tell us, some weird philosophical explanation of the unknown and what to expect for the future, and he's not there. No narration. So we're just up to our own devices. If anything, all we get is end of volume. That's it. End of volume.
Yeah, it was quite odd. I was like, okay, I better not see a to be continued. Okay, I got end of volume. How do I feel about that? I still feel like that was a polite way of saying to be continued.
Yeah, in a way, it kind of reminds me of The Sopranos ending, where it's just a blank screen. Yes. It's not as bad, but it's close. It's very close.
Oh, yeah, I was a big fan of that show, and I was like, when that happened, I'm like, oh, crap, what happened? Did the power go out?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, no. Turn back the TV. Turn on the TV. No. Checking the plot. Oh, my God. What the? No, this can't be the ending. I'm going to miss it. No, we didn't miss it. They played us.
It was just a poorly played ending. No, but
because poor old James Gandolfini passed away.
Yeah, no, it was sad. That was too bad. Because I think they were talking about bringing it back for either a miniseries or a HBO movie or something, and I'm like, wow. I go, you guys are really thinking about doing that? It's been a long time. But then, yeah, that news appeared, and I was like, oh, jeez, So that's And I can't see anybody else playing Tony, so I don't think they'll even try to touch it now, which is smart on their part. But hey, it's Hollywood. They'll run out of ideas and rehash it or reboot it or something, which is a shame. Yeah, speaking of reboots, are you an X, going off topic, are you an X-Files fan?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I have to watch the first 10 seasons because I've only seen an episode here and there.
Yeah,
starts this weekend, I think.
I've watched it, but inconsistently, I might add. Like, I've watched one season in one way. I might watch season 7 and then go back to 3 and 5. I'm all over the place. And I saw all the movies, but, I'm not a hardcore X-Files fan as I am a Heroes fan. So
I think all these reboots, and I was like, okay, well, X-Files, I don't know much about it, but I'm like, hell, as we all saw the commercial for Heroes during the Olympics, that little 15-second thing, and I was like, oh, good God, thank the Lord bringing this show
back. And then now that it's finally here and done, we're just like, great, thanks, Kring.
Yeah,
you might put this in the future, or this might be the end. Thanks a lot for putting us in Erica's place.
Yeah.
A future that doesn't exist. Thank you.
That's a good way of putting it. I like that. The future, we're not sure it exists because we don't know what the future is of the franchise. But there's a hell of a lot of good stories they can go with. It's just a matter of getting the writers to convince Kring that these are the way to go. The Reborn storyline, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but yeah, like I said, I can understand some of the people's gripes. I was standoffish on when people were making them, just because I wanted to. To me, it was like, oh, there can't be anything wrong with Heroes. There's nothing wrong with Heroes, but I'm like, yeah, you gotta give people their due when they point out stuff that was blatantly obvious. And I could see where the problems were, but it's just as we are fans, it's just we wanted to do well. We're willing to stay along for the ride, accept what we don't see, and overall, I just enjoyed it. I loved it. If I was to rate it out of the 5 seasons altogether, it would probably be 3 or 4. No, season 1 being the best for me, and I like season 3 as well. So a lot of people slap me when I tell them that, though. I enjoyed season 3, but there was a lot of filler in that season, though.
So just out of curiosity, how many viewers are actually watching us for the series finale?
We at one point, when I had my glasses on, I saw it had 72.
72 viewers. Wow.
Yeah. So at one point there was a 7. We have 11 right now because we're at the 1 hour mark. So, but I can say this: we've got, because after we're done here, it automatically gets downloaded to YouTube, and then I post the link out for people to watch. And we've had over 500 people go and watch it on YouTube. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with those numbers for our little community and our show.
Agreed. I didn't believe we had that many viewers. That's amazing.
No, yeah, it's just G Plus seems to be our biggest, where the most people are coming from, but we do get them from Facebook and from Twitter as well. But no, G Plus is the focal point. I guess because it's all G Plus it's all Google, YouTube is all. So we're using all their stuff. So that's basically, and plus we post it all too. I have more followers on.
And it's true. Because we are the only two talking about heroes or heroes, period.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, we got 750 people in our group, and maybe people are just shy. Maybe they just like to watch it and see things that, okay, Glenn and John will post stuff, I'll read about it, and that's, hey, that's wonderful. I think we did really well over this season. We gained about 100 people to our group, which is fantastic. I look forward to when we get up to 1,000 people and then just keep growing from there. Yeah, as I said, just encourage people, just come into the community, post your pictures, post your thoughts, post your videos.
Questions, comments,
Yeah,
thoughts, gripes,
yeah, exactly.
anything.
Yeah, we have a few people that regularly get on there, and they'll post and they'll comment, and then tonight, the gentleman, or the for the people from Primatech Files, they had posted a couple comments tonight on the G Plus page, which is awesome. Shout out to Primatech Files. If people want to hear a great podcast, go to Twitter at Primatech Files. They have a whole lot of podcasts that they have on iTunes, and they list them on there, and you can find them on the Twitter, and then it'll just link you to their podcast, and they talk about the show like we do. I think they're located in the UK. I could be wrong. But yeah, they got hundreds of podcasts. It's just good listening, and I've listened to a few of them already. So yeah, just wanted to give them a shout out because they were nice enough to retweet our finale tonight for us, which we appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. Now I know this is our last Heroes Reborn review, but there's something in the next week or two. I'll bring something up to you, John, and see what you think about it. About doing some review stuff about the original series, whether it be characters, heroes, villains, episodes. I think we can kind of do stuff interim while we're waiting to see what happens with the series.
It's a possibility. I don't mind rehashing old stuff.
Yeah, because I'll put something together and I'll throw some ideas at you in the next week or so, and then maybe we'll kind of, we don't have to do it on Fridays. We can do it on another night. And I think you have a show that you watch on Fridays, so I don't want to keep you from that. So, yeah, we can put stuff together, and we'll come up with something for everybody to watch, and maybe get people talking, and then maybe get people to come and join us on the show.
Hopefully, please join us. We need new voices.
Yeah, don't be afraid. We will not bite.
To all the other 747 members, please join us. Me and Glenn, we love each other's company, but we welcome you. Importantly, wink, wink. Please come.
Yeah, get somebody in here who has a completely different mindset to us and tell us that you guys are way off base. You're wrong. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I'd love to be like, how am I wrong? If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I'll plainly admit it. If Glenn's wrong, I'm sure he'll admit it. We're good like that. We love debate. That's what makes the show good. Not everybody has one point of view.
Very true. Very true. Well, I think we've covered everything. Again, just want to say thank you to everybody who has tuned in and watched over our series. And we if you're on YouTube, the other episodes are on YouTube. You can watch John and I talk about them, and leave your thoughts, and maybe put in something that maybe we've missed, and we can do another episode down the road and kind of cover stuff maybe that you think we should have covered and we didn't cover, whatever it may be, or give us thoughts on possibly future Heroes Reborn reviews. No, and I want to thank John for it's been a pleasure co-hosting with you, and we'll be doing something down the road here, I believe, in the future. We'll be doing some more types of reviews. Again, thanks, John. I really appreciate it, and thank you everybody for tuning in and watching us. It's been a blast, and I hope we get to do another new series in the next year or so.
And may I say, NBC, it's all up to you now.
That's right. The ball is in their court.
Good, everyone. And this is Heroes Reborn signing out. One last.
Right. Good night.